So good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to our weekly broadcast at 10 a.m. on a Thursday. And delighted today to be joined by a special guest, Pam Lindsay. Hello, Pam. How are you?
Really well, thank you.
Excellent. Great to have you on. And also, once again, my resident co-host, Mr. John Corey. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good day. How are you?
Yeah, very good, very good. So I have to do this. So I'm actually staying at a cottage for these 2 weeks. I'll be on holiday next week, but I'm in quite a famous place in Northern Ireland because it is one of the recording places of the Game of Thrones. So the very famous TV serial Game of Thrones. So if I open this, it should be probably getting ready for a tour arriving in today. You can see out over there, and this is actually where they filmed Winterfell. So all the locations of Winterfell and the Game of Thrones was filmed here. So there we are, a wee bit of pop quiz content. So there we are. So I thought that'd be worth showing everyone. Let's get straight into today. Thanks everyone for joining us. For those that don't know me, who are maybe tuning in for the first time, David Johnson, CEO of Leo Crowdfunding, equity property crowdfunding platform. And my co-host, I'll let John introduce himself.
John Corey, Property Fortress, US, UK real estate investor, started in 1983. UK started investing in 1994. And these days, my focus is being an angel investor because I'm trying to look authentic with the gray hair.
Yeah, thank you. And Pam was just commenting on how young you looked before we came on stage there. So you're obviously keeping well these days.
Yeah, keeping really well. Very busy. Very bullish market out there. Yeah, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a property developer, 30 years experience, and I'm really passionate about property development.
Yeah, brilliant. And we're going to be getting in here a bit more from you, Pam, just in a few moments. So, John, sometimes we do market updates. You commented to me there's been a bit of a change in the US market, or certainly overnight, an interesting development. Do you want to just share that?
Yeah, I mean, it was 0.75% increase from the US Fed. So central bank in the US has raised interest rates, highest raise in 42 years. We can go into this a little bit more next week when Amama Dal will talk about some things that this relates to more, but it was somewhat expected or just above maybe what was expected. Stock market reacted favorably because it's seen as the US Fed's taking aggressive action. More to the point though, that the shock isn't that it's gone up. The shock is actually, this is one of many. We're gonna have another rate rise next month in July. We'll probably have a few more after that. So we are talking about significant movement this year, but it's from an extremely low base. I think the last time a rate was moved up this fast, the interest rates are much, much higher. So
now that's an interesting point, that the starting place at the minute on the side of the pond, on the far side of the pond, interest rates have been so historically low that yes, there's a jump, but many of us can remember back when interest rates were well into double figures in the past. So yeah, that's the context of all these things is important. So just a couple of housekeeping slides before we go straight to Pam and use the maximum of time discussing with Pam. For those of you who have invested in the Waits House Ferrum project with Creation Tech and Asset Bricks, it has successfully closed 265,700 from 50 different investors. So I know, John, you weren't on last week, but it was great to get another deal funded. And you obviously know Hitesh, he's an ex-client of yours, and another good solid deal that was funded and helped put new stock in the housing market.
Yeah, I mean, whether we want to talk about the wider housing market and whether this moves the dial in terms of number of new builds, but I think as a private investor and also I'm on the other side of this, I am working closely with Creation Tech and helping with some of the work behind the scenes to get these things off the ground. I love it when I see 50 investors because I think it's a great way for people to diversify rather than any one investor trying to take the whole thing or something like that. And 265 is quite healthy. It's a little off the max. It's way above the min. So this is exactly how crowdfunding is supposed to work. You have a minimum and a maximum, and you let the crowd decide how much they want to support a particular project.
Mm-hmm. And the shareholder agreement is due out probably today or tomorrow to the investors to review before final acceptance and moving to drawdown. So that's the Waits House project. And the Aldwick project, as we announced last week, has fully funded, drawn down. So if you're one of the 43 investors in this project, you'll be getting your Schedule 2 signed shareholder agreement from Target 5. Will be on its way to the next couple of days, and that will keep you up to date as well. Of course, your share certificate. So that was another project that we did, which was excellent. And John, before we go to your weekly question, our fundraiser live bootcamp, 5th, 6th, 7th of July. I'm really looking forward to this. Actually, I'm excited about this. We obviously rescheduled it just due to some calendar conflicts and everything that's going on, but I'm looking forward to sort of having 3 days intense with developers and going through and helping them understand the nuances and the important things of raising funds legally.
Well, it's more than even just understand. This is 3 days, so people can get done in 3 days, but they probably take 3 months to work on, and literally go from the start to the finish of here's the process, here's what you need to do, this is where this goes, this is where this goes, this is why you do it in this order. And it's heavily targeted to people who have more deals than they have money. If you're struggling to find a deal and you have tons of cash, probably a little less interesting. If you haven't done your first deal, you don't have a track record, definitely this would not be a good fit. This is for people that they're out there making it happen, but they're built their business to the point now where they have trouble funding all the good leads. And this is going to elevate them to the next level, help them scale up.
Mm-hmm. So this is, as John says, it's 3 days, goes from morning to evening. It's an intense 3 days, but we get through so much information, and it's interactive. It's obviously on live, but it's very interactive, lots of questions, some sort of work parts, worksheets to go through. So it's not sitting listening, it's very much putting a plan in place to help scale your business. So the link is there. You can see along the bottom there, you can screen grab that quickly before we move on. It's £297 for the 3 days. However, there's an early bird until the end of June. So you can have 3 days with John and myself, really helping to look at your business and scale it for a very, very attractive price. So that is our fundraiser live bootcamp, 5th, 6th, 7th of July. And if you're interested in getting on that, you can give me a shout or go ahead and book. Now, the Ask John question, and then we should over to Pam after this. So John, can investors from outside the UK invest in property in the UK? And I guess behind that question is, are the things that people need to be aware of if you're an external or international investor?
So essentially, there are no restrictions. There's a tax implication in that if you're not resident in the UK, there will be the managing agent, the property manager, whoever's handling the rental part of it, will need to deduct at source 20% of the income to be applied to the individual owner's tax return when they file. But otherwise, yeah, anybody that wants to invest in the UK can do so. All the normal checks for anti-money laundering, proof of identity, residency is not important, but you need to live somewhere. You need to be able to prove that so that the banking system, the accountants, the lawyers, the estate agents all understand who they're dealing with, where the money's coming from. When it comes to buying, though, you'll probably struggle if you're outside the UK when it comes to getting a loan. Lenders would have a harder time repossessing or a harder time going after the borrower. So they want the LTV lower. So then that way, when they force a sale through an auction, they're completely paid out rather than they're going to chase you because they would have to chase you possibly in another country. But otherwise, yeah, it's the bigger problem, I think, for people who want to do this is if you're not from the UK or you haven't lived there in a while and you haven't bought property there in a while, there'll be lots of things you don't understand. And it's not necessarily like wherever you're living. There's differences in the rental rules. There's differences in the credit rules. There's differences in how you vet incoming tenants. So you can definitely invest, though, if you want directly, but at the same time, you could invest through Leo crowdfunding or any other crowdfunding site. So you have choice. You just have to be prepared to do your homework and figure it out.
Yeah, in terms of investing though on a crowdfunding platform, for instance, if someone lives in America or Canada, there are some, how would you describe them, barriers of entry or hurdles that must be overcome in terms of some countries around the world. Is that not fair to say?
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, if you're in North Korea, if you're in Iran, you're pretty much on the blacklist. Russia. If you're Canada, the US, they may have restrictions. It makes good business sense for some platforms to say we don't want any Canadians or Americans because there's extra paperwork that would have to be filed with the respective countries' treasuries or tax authorities. So rather than get into all of that extra work for a few investors, they just say, look, sorry, passport's the wrong color. If you had a British business, you could invest as the business, but we can't have you invest as an individual.
Okay, thank you for that. So moving over to our special guest then today, I'm delighted that Pam is able to join us. I first met Pam, actually, John, at your event, must be about 4 years ago now, your monthly networking event, and Pam and I met there, and then I remember having a meal with Pam, yourself, and your husband Sean and John after one of the events, and we've stayed in touch since. And I know you're very active on Clubhouse. So Pam, delighted to have you here. I'll give you a few minutes to introduce yourself, and then we'll put some questions to you around this area of brand building. So brilliant you could join us. Looking forward to this, and over to you.
Thanks for having me on stage, Dave. It's good to see you again. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm born and bred in Hackney, London. So contrary to being in America, I know London inside out, and I think that gives me quite a good advantage as a developer to concentrate where I started. So I've come from a family of 12. I'm the baby, believe it or not, of 12. My mum and dad had 6 boys and 6 girls. Yeah, so incredible. And I am the baby. Now, it's funny, Dave, I'm coming from a family that's really academic, and I've got a brother who's top scientist, sister, school headmistress. So they really put a lot of weight on education. Now, I didn't want that option. I really did not want to go to university. I was really pressured by my family. It was kind of like an outcast because I wouldn't follow their norms. So I decided not to go to university. Pam wanted to do her own thing, almost like a Dell girl version of me in Hackney. Imagine me, young me. So off I went. I started a letting agency business, Cozy Homes. And I remember outnumbering Foxtons, letting properties, which Foxton tried to let, and I was getting through. That was my first introduction into property. And then I met my long-lasting husband, who was more coming from an engineering construction side. We made the dream team, power team, guys. Yeah. So then we formed our property company. And I think this is what it's all about. If you can find a synergy that you can work with, that is how, you know, you really truly scale. Now, even though I was confused at the time and I was going through jobs, etc., you know, I'd found my clarity, and I was now starting to live life on my terms. I was breaking boundaries and barriers as a woman in property. Now I'm at the stage of creating financial freedom. And for me, it's not about the money, it's about living life on your terms. And with my background and where I am now, I'm just, you know, I'm really passionate about the whole thing, and I can't, you know, wait to collaborate with people, use the sweat equity and make them more stakeholder interests so that we can create empires and generational wealth. That's what I'm all about, Dave.
Absolutely brilliant. And as I say, I know you're someone that likes to get out and network. As I met you at John's event, and I know you've always like respected John in the past. Anytime we were talking, you're like, John has sort of helped you a lot on your journey and the networking events. I think that's a good thing maybe just to mention before we get into the questions. So you were a pretty regular attender at John's event, and did you find those useful, and did you find that beneficial as part of your journey of education?
Yeah, the network, you know that saying networking is your net worth. I really truly live by it. If you're looking for funding, if you're looking to create a power team, if you want to build good relationships and have more knowledge, then you're going to have to network. And I can't tell you how important that is in terms of why you need to invest, to look at property, to invest with people, to work with people. People personality is so important. Now, I've been networking for many years through Progressive, through Facebook, etc. So important. Can't tell you, to build that. You can't deal package, Dave, without networking with people. You know, you can't. So important.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay, so we're going to have a conversation, and John will jump in and you know, ask you to explain things further, or go down some the right rabbit holes when we need to. But the 4 questions are on the screen, and as regular attendees know, will come off the screen now. But we'll just basically talk through these, give you an opportunity to understand more about how you've built your business and how important brand is particularly. But I suppose first of all, why did you end up in property? What was the driver that actually took you into property?
That's a really good question. Okay, so I started with buy, refurbish, refinance, and it started off in Clerkenwell. It was a concentrated strategy. I made 90,000 in 6 weeks. And here's how I did this, guys. I would literally purchase properties with big kitchens, take the kitchen out and put the kitchen in the lounge. Yeah, that was buy, refurbish, refinance. Dave, I then started to focus on Russell Group universities, walking distance. I was getting 6 and 12 months in advance, and that was helping me rinse and repeat my business model. Before you know it, I was doing Victorian conversions in Hackney and Islington, Victorian houses, single dwellings into multiple dwellings. I then started to look at HMOs, additional license, situ generous, larger HMOs units, and just literally kept on rinsing and repeating this business model. I then moved on to ICF, insulated concrete framework. I wanted quick superstructures that was able to go up fast. It was about speed. In development, speed is so important. So I'd go to trade fairs, literally in Germany, Poland, all over. Loved it with my husband, finding out good systems that work, what products could work, alternative materials, all amazing stuff. Then I did flipping fast, and I mean it, literally flipping fast, Dave, buying properties, remodeling them, and off we go again. The best thing I've done recently is a grade 2 star listed building in Somerset. And I swear this model can be repeated anywhere in the UK. Purchased a grade 2 listed with capital allowance, laced with 250,000, Dave, of capital allowance. Now it is a luxury hotel apartment, 100% bookings with corporate lets. They're the kind of business models that we want to rinse and repeat all over the UK. That's the kind of thing I do, and it's a 10 million portfolio now, and we still hold it.
Excellent, excellent. So, John, I can see why you always liked when Pam was at your networking event, because she brings not just knowledge and experience, but enthusiasm and passion to what she does. So it's always a good interaction when she's at your events.
I mean, Pam's always been full of energy, and it's like take no prisoners, no holds barred type person. And I came to know Sean a little bit, her husband, in the background. Over the years, you know, I'd interact mostly with Pam, but I did visit it once at their house, and this is the house prior to the house they're in now. And it's quite a good team. And I think that actually speaks to anybody trying to raise money. Passive investors care about the team, because people can get sick, people can get busy, people want to take a holiday, so it's nice to have a team. Okay, maybe Pam and her husband go on holiday together, but whatever. But having complementary skills, and you need someone to be the front of the business. You need someone to drive the front of the business, to be out there making it happen. Pam's definitely a go-getter when it comes to that.
Mhm. And just on that, Pam, so that leads in very nicely actually to the next sort of point. As John said, you're very good at being out there, sort of getting your vertical commas, your brand out there, connecting with people. So why build a brand? Was that a deliberate strategy? Is it just your personality, or did you set out to deliberately create a brand so when people came across you or your company, they identified your brand? Was that conscious?
Yeah, I mean, I'm homing in on that question, Dave. Be a producer, not a consumer on social media. Yeah, just remember those words. We want to be a producer, not a consumer. Branding.
I'm writing it down.
Oh, bless you. Branding is an essential part of your property journey. So without it, right now I'm into the decentralization of banks. And if I'm going to decentralize banks, I need powerful networks around me. Yeah, if we're going to do things like work with Dave, crowdfunding, we need to build relationships with people. And you're not going to do that hiding behind closed doors, guys. Everything is moving towards technology right now. Your network is truly your net worth, guys. And things like if you want to be a deal packager, if you want to empower people, if you want to create a niche market, if you want to create a power team, you've got to get online. You've got to build the brands. And I just want to give a quick lesson on brand building. You've got your corporate brand, yeah? It's important so that people, if you ever leave, it continues, yeah? Your corporate brand. You've got your product brand. It basically separates you from the red tape. So that's so important to have your product, a product that will sell. It reaches your target audience. You've got your personal brand. That shows Pam and what I'm like. You know me, Dave, I like to travel the world. She's in Kenya, she's in Ibiza. That's my personal brand. So you've got those 3 different types of brand. And it's so important to have that. Without that, people don't get to really know the true you. Yeah, and then if you want to truly attract people, again, it's so important to have your network is your network. Very, very important. Create those accounts, register them, do a good bio about yourself so that people really understand you. Focus on primary platforms like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Clubhouse is amazing. And for those of you who've got like a bit of a timid personality and you just don't want to show your face, there's some amazing audiobooks like, what's it called, Dave? What's the best audio right now for Android and for Apple?
As in Audible? Oh no, as in Clubhouse.
Clubhouse.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely amazing. So yeah, and Clubhouse, if you want to go on to your next questions, I'm sure it will lead you nicely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I thought you were, my head was on Audible there for some reason in terms of a book. Yeah, I'm sort of half laughing myself because John's actually enjoying this, Pam, because John keeps telling me you've got to be more on social media, you've got to be getting yourself out there, and I'm like, yeah, but getting the time to do it and all that. So John's enjoying this. The smile on John's face right now is like, yeah, he's got a big stick to beat me with now going forward. So on social media, here's one of my concerns.
Hey, wait, Game of Thrones Sticks. Come on.
That was a good analogy. So here's Pam a question you can answer for me. So 52-year-old man, like not social media savvy, LinkedIn presence, don't really do Facebook that much, Instagram, yes. What social media channels do you focus on? Because there's so many every day, there's a new one. So how have you focused on which ones? I know you've mentioned Clubhouse, which we'll come on to, but what advice would you give someone starting off to build a brand and property? Which channels should they use?
So such a good question. You got to find a platform that truly suits your personality. Yeah, it's pointless finding a platform where you've got to show up every single day, and you're just not one for visual. Clubhouse restored my faith in the power of voices, Dave and John, because I was able to, I don't have to get ready. I can just talk. I created a 6-figure business on Clubhouse by talking and offering good content, value, and being transparent and truly having a passion for what I do and delivering, and it's coming through. That's the truth. So you can also
actually, Pam, I have to interrupt. So you always look good when you show up, so the visual on Clubhouse is missing, but you're right. It's really, you have a lot of energy, a lot of passion, the tone, the way you just sort of communicate, and it definitely comes across in your voice. So Clubhouse, I can see, would be a great medium for you. And you're right, you could sort of rock out of bed and just show up, but at the same time, yeah, it's all about being authentic and being yourself. And this is definitely a good example. So.
Oh, thank you, John. Thank you so much. I think just being transparent, being trustworthy and all that, you want people to share the same principles as you before you're saying you're going to embark on someone in a JV, etc. Check out the person. And you know, one thing about social media, you can't hide anything. I couldn't go on there and say I own a £10 million portfolio, because I've got loads of brokers that I've worked with that will be up there beside me. You know, people's professions are at stake here. So the beauty about it is that it offers that transparency, and also you can build power teams, Dave. The power teams, the collaboration. You know, right now we're living in a time where this is the great awakening. This is why guys like you are going to be amazing. The fact that we can have more creative ways of crowdfunding. So power teams are so important. And the fact that we can decentralize banks with technology, this is huge. There's a lot of money out there. You know, and it's just for us to tell people about the incredible business models that are scaling up, that are making £10,000 net. This is generational wealth. The more we talk, the more we can get our messages across. And ain't no stopping us now on social media. Yeah. That's what I
agree. So David, she's saying that people who talk a lot could do well.
Yeah, but you got to talk the right stuff. You got to really
exactly.
Business
exactly.
Model. You've got to know the demand and supply of the housing industry. You've got to be part of the radical change. You've got to complement, you know, the strategic housing policies. You know, you've got to be green. You've got to offer green mortgages and what's attractive out there. You've got to be a savvy and intelligent property developer.
You make a very good point, Pam. You make a very good point. And yeah, I take John's point. That was a small stick that John's probably trying to beat me with again. I've got a sore back with John beating me today. But you're absolutely right. You have to provide value. It's not just talking for the sake of talking. It's if you can provide value, insights, updates, get people thinking, get people realizing what's happening in the world of property and the wider world context. You know, John talked about American interest rates go up. It's like, okay, is that indicating a trajectory perhaps going forward? Maybe it is. How will it impact property in general? How may it impact my own personal business? These are all things that people, when you're on like a Clubhouse, these factors have been brought up right in front of you. You're not having to go look for them. So I think you're absolutely right. It's so important. So just finishing off then, any particular do's and don'ts, anything you would say to someone who's maybe starting out or looking to build a brand through social media and their property business? Any major, give you one major do and one major don't, if you have any.
I just think be genuine, be trustworthy and transparent. Be consistent. Don't be hopping on and off. People want to get used to you. People want to hear your voice, or see you consistently. And that is, consistency is absolute key. Being consistent, being genuine, being trustworthy. Share first. Share your passion. Then people will radiate to you. That's what I believe. I believe that if you really want to, the more you give, the more it will come back. Don't start thinking of taking first. Give. People need that. They need knowledge.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay. Pam, absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed that. And we'll obviously have a recording up on YouTube very quickly, which you can send out to some of your social media tribes. But some really good insights there, some really good nuggets. And I love the fact that you share your personal story. You know, you're not somebody on stage and then a different personality off stage. You're Pam Lindsay, you are who you are. And together with John,
my God, David, you're going to have to share your personal story and have those worlds meet. Oh, I can't believe it's going to happen.
It just might. It just might. And in fact, that moves on very nicely. Come to think of it, if I can get these slides to change today, it should be interesting. So, well, first of all, next week is Dal Ray is going to be doing a chat with John on international property investing and currency exchange, probably topical with interest rates going up. But Dal, our investor portfolio manager, who many of the investor attendees will speak to on a regular basis. But Dal comes from a foreign exchange background, where one of his clients was placed in the Sun. I think also Rightmove he worked for. So a lot of international clients buying property. Dal was involved in those transactions, so has a really good insight into this side of property investment and moving funds internationally. So I think that will be very topical for next week. But getting back to John's big stick about merging personal life and business life. So as I've indicated, I am preparing to launch a podcast, which will give me more time to delve into my background and the different things I've done in property, as well as bringing brilliant guests onto the podcast. I think without doubt, Pam, will get you booked into that. I think that would be an excellent podcast series when we have you on to talk about brand building. And John, of course, will be a regular contributor on that. So John, maybe this will help bridge that gap of life and business.
You know, the proof is in the pudding.
It certainly is. Last week or 2 weeks ago, Pam, when I announced this, John just sort of went, well, when David's done 100 episodes, then he can talk about having a podcast. So that's the challenge John has set. I've got to get to 100 or else he won't take me seriously as a podcaster. Time will tell. Time will tell. So I think that is us for today. Thank you very much. And any last, we'll give you one sort of 30 seconds, Pam, to finish off, and then John.
I just think that be genuine, be authentic, be trustworthy, share, and the universe will open for you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And John, last 30 seconds.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah, it was good catching up again, Pam. It's been a little while, and it's good to hear what you have to say. Very thoughtful number of points you made, so really good to connect again.
Yeah. You too, John.
Yeah. And before I go, I should have said, if you go to the chat box, you'll find the link to Pam's business. So as well as doing development, she also does coaching with people. So you can go there to whiteglovepropertytraining.com. It's in the chat. I'll just give people a couple of seconds to get there before we end the broadcast today. But again, thank you for your time, Pam. Really appreciate it. And thanks again to John, as usual, resident host. Really useful. And we'll see everyone again next Thursday. Bye, everyone. Talk to you all soon. Good luck.
Bye, John. Bye, Dave.